Get your funny bones ready. They're gonna be aching.
I have immense chills.
The dog knew.
The dog is the matchmaker. How I got emotionally attached to a leaf.
I would haunt a landline.
Pretty neat. And that's why we picked some heartwarming and silly stories to share with you today.
Hey everyone.
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two girls, one ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That's Corinne.
Hello.
And I'm Sabrina. And I feel like we should go on a little adventure to TJ Maxx Home Goods because their Halloween decor is already out. And we should do some studio shopping.
Oh my gosh, we should. Which actually, if we have the studio as an excuse, maybe I can buy some things that have been on my list. I think is it Crate and Barrel or Pottery Barn? One of those has like really pretty black rattan bats. And they're beautiful. I love them.
Well,
and
we should pick like what our Halloween aesthetic. I know we've been working on that. We're trying to figure out what because we like to, not only do we dress up for Halloween, like all of our October episodes, we have different costumes.
Mm-hmm.
We like to have like a new ambiance and vibe.
Something a little different.
Yeah. Especially now that we're in person and we have a studio. We're like up in our game. Our cameras are better if you haven't noticed. You can see all of our
Shout out to Sabrina for continuing to figure out
Sabrina
for figuring out all of the settings on the camera.
Shout out to our friends who have helped us because we know nothing. But yeah, so we should pick what our vibe is for this October.
If people have suggestions, let us know.
Check out our Pinterest. We have some mood
boards. A ton
boards.
of doll heads and we just hang them.
A doll head garland.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And I also feel like really sad dismembering dolls. We just go to that beach in Texas where all the dolls were washing
That's
up.
what I was thinking. We got to go to Texas.
BRB.
The podcast is going to be paused for a few weeks as we go collect doll heads from the beach.
What is our life? Truly. Because I posted this on Instagram. I like made a video of just like, never would I have believed if you told me when I was growing up that I would grow up and make a living talking about the paranormal. I wouldn't have believed it.
Well, also when we were growing up, like
real.
what was the option for doing that? It's like you get a show on Travel Channel. That was like the only avenue.
Right. But even that just
like,
felt
YouTube was like just starting.
Right. And then like here I am now also like collecting haunted dolls. And apparently we're going to Texas to collect doll heads. It's a gift. I'm grateful. And I also feel like how cool because life never happens the way you plan it to be or like the way that you think it's going to.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty neat.
Pretty neat. And that's why we picked some heartwarming and silly stories to share with you today.
We're going to be funny today.
Yeah. Or heartwarming. I'm not sure I picked out many silly. Maybe one.
I'm in a silly willy mood.
Do you want to start then? Or no?
No, you start.
Okay. I'll start.
Get your funny bones ready. They're going to be aching. That's a little bit of a taste of how funny this episode's going to be.
Okay, this one, the story itself is not very funny, but the subject line is.
Okay.
How I got emotionally attached to a leaf, which I think is funny.
I love that.
Hey gals, I wanted to share something that I thought was possibly a sweet sign from a loved one. My grandfather passed away a few months ago, and it has been really hard on all of us.
Sorry.
Recently, my mom dropped her phone in a pool, and she was devastated since it had a bunch of voicemails and texts from my grandfather. We were talking about him and how we were sad about the phone being ruined when a pretty fall-colored leaf fell from the sky right in front of us and into the pool. It was the middle of summer. We live on 5 acres. There are no trees around us. The trees that were the closest didn't match the fall-colored leaves or the type of leaf that this one was. It could have been a bird maybe that dropped the leaf, but there weren't any around that we could see.
And again, it's summer.
And there's no trees around, and the trees don't match the leaf. We've kept the pretty leaf in a journal where its memory has been kept forever. See you on the other side, ladies, and hopefully my grandpa too, from Kinsey.
Oh, that's like so special.
Right? It's like, oh, I just wish I had a sign. I wish I had a memento. And he's like,
don't worry, I'm here.
Press this leaf into the journal. Here you go.
I feel like that's something you would do because when you moved back to the East Coast before I had, many years before I had, back in like 2017. That fall, you mailed like all of us in LA like little postcards with leaves that you pressed onto.
Oh, it was it was the pandemic. It was 2020.
Yeah.
Because everyone was
very
super
kind.
depressed. So I like went around and got a bunch of
leaves,
foliage, and then I Mod Podged them onto postcards and
Yeah.
sent them off.
So thoughtful.
A little bit of color.
That's
My
you.
mom used to pack up in like a gallon Ziploc bag, send a bunch of fall leaves from Vermont.
As a care package.
As a care package, like overnight them to LA. And then I'd tape them on my dorm walls and wouldn't take them off until they were like crispy and brown.
That is magic. That literally is magic. That's magical.
Yeah.
I have been telling Noemi, it's so funny because I don't have kids of my own yet, but I feel like I have this gift of being an aunt where I get to impart my witchy magical ways onto my nieces. And so I took Noemi outside and was just like walking through the trees and like all the plants and stuff. And I was like, if you're ever upset about anything, you can give your woes to the trees and they'll carry it to the earth and like absorb that energy for you. And if anyone wrongs you, you can tell the trees and they will like, the ecosystem will like,
because the trees are alive
carry
and they
the
do
strength.
talk.
Yeah. And they'll protect you.
We're going to pivot one more time because you just reminded me. I literally saved it in my TikTok folders. There was a bunch of examples of like how to create more whimsy in your children's lives. And I was like, okay, this is going to be something that I'm totally going to do. But once Noah's slightly older, let me just find it really quick. The username is Amy McFarland. It's called Making Parenting a Little More Magical and Whimsical. When you're tucking them into bed, say, I loved being your mom today. On emotional days, go outside and whisper your worries and your feelings to the wind or to the trees.
Or the water.
Wake them up in the morning with a kiss and say, the sun is waiting for you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Isn't it? Listen to fairy music and make your home feel enchanted. Decorate the dinner table together at night with candles and hand-picked flowers.
That's very Matilda.
Read your kids Shirley Barber books. Turn bath time into fairy potion soaks, adding lavender oil, dried flower petals. Call it the calming fairy spell. Making spells in the bathtub.
I feel like this is also something that I'm just trying to do in my own life is like romanticize everything and make everything whimsical.
Yeah. Live a whimsy life.
Live whimsy.
Live whimsy, live calm, live
spooky.
Slow and spooky. Play soft harp or forest sounds when your kids play. Spray lavender mist on the pillow at night. Call it dream dust. When it's windy out, call it the trees' song and listen to what the trees are singing today. And that's just, they have a bunch of these, but that's just some of them.
I've also loved saying, I'll meet you in the dream world. Like when they're going to sleep, like, like I'm going to sleep too and I'll meet you in the dreams.
Yes. I've seen people, we're not age-wise at this part where we have to convince Noah to go to bed because I still have to hold him until he falls asleep. So, but one day. But I've seen people say like to have your kids pick out their dreams. Like, what dream are you going to pick out tonight? And then have them start thinking about it so they dream about it.
Noah does that. Noah says that she's going to dream about Mickey
Mouse.
And this morning when I FaceTimed her, I said, what'd you dream about last night? And she said, Mickey. And I said, what'd Bree dream about last night? And she said, Donald. Also, I don't know where this came from. All of a sudden, she's saying, instead of just Bree, she's saying, Bre. Like Moira. There's like an accent that comes with it. And it's like sophisticated.
Oh, interesting.
I love it.
I wonder what else maybe she's gearing up to say your full name.
Well, my sister was like, do you want her to call you Breenie? Because everyone in my family calls me Breenie. And I was like, absolutely not. I am Auntie Bree.
Yeah.
And that is never changing.
Right.
I will forever be Bree.
Well, that's the thing. Like my parents, when they picked out their grandparent names, they were like, we're just grandma and grandpa because who knows what's actually going to come out.
Right. Exactly.
Like we'll just do the basics and then we'll
let
see what
them pick.
happens.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's the best. Okay. Well, speaking of grandparents, this is about a grandpa and it is called Non-Believing Garlic Throwing Grandpa.
Oh.
And as an Italian garlic lover myself, this is a type of haunting I stand behind.
Is it just like a bear clove and you could catch the garlic in your mouth?
You'll find out.
Is it pickled?
This is from Cecily and Pop Pop. Hey girlies, I just today had the most fascinating experience at home and I had a witness. My dad was visiting, helping me heighten my bed so I could store stuff underneath. And we spent an hour just talking afterwards about my mom, motorcycles, and making jokes about everything in life. He was at the front door after about to leave, as in he'd hold down the door handle to open the door and walk out when my resident ghost made his presence known to us. We were just talking, and then the ghost moved something in my kitchen, which he does now every single evening after dinner while I watch TV facing the kitchen half of my living room. He'll brush against some paper or plastic bag and make a sound, which will freak me out the more it happens in a single night. But it's always the same 2 sounds. And I've tried hundreds of times to recreate the sound, and no matter what I do, what I move or shift around, the sounds keep coming, like something being crinkled up or stepped on. And he never does this during the day, probably because I'm too stressed to allow for passage of his antics and pranks. But both my dad and I heard it at around 1 p.m. And I asked my dad, "Did you hear it?" And he nodded. I told him, "That's Grandpa." And he giggled. I was telling him that this happens every single night. And again, my dad heard it. I didn't hear it this time, but then I faced the kitchen and asked out loud, "Grandpa, is that you? Could you please do that again?" And nothing happened. He usually only makes these sounds 2 or 3 times a night, so I was really surprised it was happening in broad daylight while his son was visiting. My dad smiled and said, "He might love making pranks on you." He didn't believe in ghosts in the afterlife, which I did a double take of because my ghost grandpa, who does daily pranks on me, didn't believe in ghosts or the afterlife.
Well, how jazzed was he when he found out?
Right.
I'm still here.
How great.
I'm not worm food in the dirt.
So I like to imagine him entering that form with a major shock and a big grin on his face, rubbing his hands together like, well, it's time to make some pranks and provoke some scares. My mom also remembers him being a big rascal, making jokes the second he met her. Now you may be wondering, Cecily, what do you mean he's a garlic-throwing ghost? Well, picture this. I'm sleeping on the couch in the living room following a terrifying bedroom haunting that I wrote to you about earlier, which has thankfully calmed. But I was scared to go into that room, and so for a good 3 weeks, couch sleeping. Yes, please, sign me up. I was waking up around 9 a.m., the room was well lit, and my dog was cuddling in my arms, and I felt like I was being watched. But I knew it wasn't my dog because her head was resting in my arms away from my face. But I was a bit morning mad, so I didn't really open my eyes. But then all of a sudden, my dog perks her head up, so I open my eyes and look at her. She is staring into the kitchen. When I look over into the kitchen, I froze. There, in the air, about 2 inches above the countertop and 4 inches away from the side of the countertop were 3 garlic cloves hovering.
Excuse me? Juggle?
What the fuck? My feet start to curl up under me. My hands are sweaty, my heart pounding, trying to escape either through my chest or my back, and my dog and I are just staring. I count in Mississippis. I reach 3 Mississippi, halfway to 4, when the garlic cloves are thrown from the kitchen into the living room, 4 feet from their starting point. I didn't know whether to
laugh,
laugh,
starting point was
cry,
them
or run.
hovering in the air.
Yeah. I got up, both of us still staring at the garlic, picked it up, placed them back on the counter, and just continued on. It was
making
so
me hungry.
Freaking scary.
Oh. Well, sorry you were scared by it.
But it's also, I think it's like startling scary more than like bad vibes. Okay, now here are some content warnings, mention of serious illness and death. My grandpa was an Eastern European man who lived through the Russian and Hungarian disturbances, basically a civil war. He smoked a lot, loved spicy foods, and enjoyed a good laugh. Sadly, I never met him, but he still has pictures up in my parents' house, and I have one of him, my grandma, and my dad as a 3-year-old in my living room. My grandpa would show himself ever so rarely, but when I see him, he's wearing dress shirts with different patterns, jeans, and a belt, just like in every picture I've seen of him. He also has a noticeable beer belly and always has his hands in his pockets. He's a big character, and when I feel sad or angry, I can feel him being upset that I feel these things.
Oh.
And he's always telling me when I need to add certain ingredients into my stews or potatoes, even things I haven't used before.
Oh my gosh, we always hear about like Italian grandmas, but like I love this.
Russian grandfather.
Yeah, Russian grandpa coming in with some garlic and extra spices and add a little extra flavor, man.
Literally throwing the garlic. He's like, I want you to make some garlic food.
Like do some more.
Towards the end of his life, sadly, he couldn't eat these good spicy dishes anymore because he was dying from throat cancer. So I believe he was throwing the garlic, saying, get your butt in the kitchen and make some spicy foods. It's been too long and I miss the smells.
It's also just reminding me of the show Ghosts, where all the ghosts like love Jay's cooking and particular cooking so they can just smell everything. It's like, I need to still smell it. I need to still remember the food.
Experience it. So that's the story of my garlic throwing grandpa who during life never believed in ghosts himself. I can hear him laughing at that. And I find comfort in knowing that he is safe, happy, and still visits me despite us never having met in life. He was always the one I was most sad I didn't get to know, But now I have, and we're having fun together. Living life with the ghost of my grandpa has turned out to be the most fun thing that I never expected. Love and warm summer thoughts from Cecily and Pop Pop.
That is really nice.
Like you're literally cooking with your grandpa.
I know. He's
So
like your
sweet.
ratatouille.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
More garlic. Throwing it. It is chaotic in the kitchen with Grandpa's ghost.
I am curious like how grandpa communicates to Cecily that she needs to add certain spices.
I was thinking the same thing.
Especially things that she's like never cooked with before.
Right.
That means he's tasting it.
Yeah, somehow he knows. Yeah, I am very curious because given that the garlic thing scared her, I would assume it's not just throwing ingredients all around because I think she would tell us like that he grabs something out or like a spice will fall down.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a message in her head.
Yeah. Or like in the dreams or something.
I also love that grandpa did make an appearance when his son was there. Like that's very
really nice. Yeah.
So when I found that story, it really reminded me of, and I was trying to find similar stories along this vein of the listener who emailed us saying that when she was little, she would sit at the top of the stairs with cheese for her grandma.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Like literally obsessed with
would like sneak cheese to her grandma's spirit.
Yeah.
Not to like think about my mom's passing, but I feel like that would be if my mom, we all die, hopefully decades from now, when little Deb is 103 and she goes to the other side, that she's also coming back for cheese.
Coming back for cheese.
Okay.
I think I've like been turning into my grandma the older I get.
Oh, really?
In like the best way. Like I'm honored to be turning into her. I'm way more nervous Nelly than I used to be.
Black coffee, cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm like smoking a pack a day. Listerine. No, but like American cheese, like slices of white deli American cheese are truly my favorite thing in the world now.
It is really good.
It's so good. I love Jell-O.
You can be like a little dog. Just put all of your like the pills that you have to take, wrap them in the cheese.
The best. It's making me hungry right now. I am so grateful that I found Cymbiotika because for so long I was looking for a way to get my supplements in like an easy but also tasty way.
Yeah.
Without taking a ton of pills. And Cymbiotika has so many squeezable supplements.
Yeah, emphasis on easy.
Very. I like to take my vitamin C pouch and my sea moss pouch and like squeeze them both into my mouth at the same time and like double pouch it.
You got me into putting, because I was originally doing that. And then you said that sometimes you put it in your drink.
Yeah.
And I have been doing that.
And Cymbiotika has really clean ingredients. And plus, you can order them straight to your door. So it's extremely convenient. And it's just so easy to add into your routine.
Yes. And while we take the Irish sea moss and the vitamin C every day, they have so many different supplements that you can explore and find what's right for you, whether you're looking to boost your gut health, boost your mind, help with sleep. They have so many choices. Go to cymbiotika.com/TGOG for 20% off plus free shipping. That's cymbiotika.com/TGOG for 20% off plus free shipping. This is called Coffee from Santa and Signs from Mom. Hi, Ghostesses.
Santa left coffee.
Santa! I know him! Hi,
Favorite
Ghostesses. My name is Emily, and I discovered Two Girls, One Ghost last year, and I've been working my way through all of your episodes from the beginning because my brain will only let me listen to podcasts in chronological order, even though your ghost switches up the order constantly.
Thanks, Sven.
Honestly,
thanks for staying.
Yeah, thanks for staying.
I saw someone...
and for Sven to remind you of the chaos that is
us.
Yeah.
But then also to remind you that we've changed and grown and become better. Because, so someone... recently, yes, I read your Reddit post.
I do not read reviews or Reddit.
I read it all. But
why do I want my feelings?
Well, like,
don't your feelings get hurt?
No, because people aren't saying mean things. Like someone was just like, no hate at all, but like I just started from the beginning. When does it get better? Because
like 2 years later.
Because like I guess and this is fair. This is like we were what? 22 years old.
Well, we also didn't think that it was going to be anything. Like it was just
we're
it was
super
like
young.
us starting a blog basically that we didn't think anyone would listen to. We had shitty mics that we couldn't figure out for like a good year.
Also, like we were such babies. Like we've grown up so much and learned so much throughout doing this podcast. We've become more in tune. We've like wanted to practice more. We've learned more like spiritual things, but we were calling everything demonic. We were scared of everything. And like
yeah,
we've
after
just
recording
grown
every
so
single
much.
episode, you had to stay on the phone with me while I showered.
I called you the other night when
You
I was
did.
showering.
It was the first time in years.
I was scared.
Recently, there have been a few things that are scaring us.
Yeah.
It's just like when we get too in our head. But I do think we've gotten a little bit desensitized to things. We
Absolutely.
have become a lot more exposed into like what different things are and different practices.
Yeah. We're learning and growing.
And also
Wild how that happens with time.
Okay. I really enjoyed being along the ride for your journey throughout womanhood in between all of the ghost stories. I've been wanting to write in with some of my own recent tales. So here it goes. I felt like this time of the year was a good time to share some heartwarming stories and some stories of family from the other side. So that's where I'll start.
How sweet.
I lost my mom to cancer this past September, and it was very rough at the end.
Sorry.
She was so strong when she was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2023 and went through chemo like a champ. But a routine check showed the cancer had spread to her brain, and within 3 months, she couldn't walk, she couldn't talk, and then she couldn't eat.
That is so heartbreaking. I'm so sorry.
I know. She was a shell of the resilient, true crime and mystery loving 70s game show watching hippie lady that I was raised by. I was basically her only caregiver along with my husband, John, and we spent our first year of marriage back and forth from doctor's visits, treatments, and in and out of multiple hospitals and rehabs, watching her quickly decline mentally and physically. And then I got the call from her hospice nurse at 10 p.m., September 6th, that she was gone. After taking care of her and her being my whole life for over a year, it was just over, and I wasn't even there with her. The next day, my sister-in-law, my husband, and I spent the day together, and I didn't know how to feel between it not feeling real that she was gone, and it still doesn't, and the relief of her not suffering anymore.
Right.
We didn't get around to ordering dinner until about 7 p.m., and I stayed home while they went to go pick it up. I got a call from my husband a few minutes later saying, "Go outside now." I go out, and there is a huge double rainbow in the sky, the most vibrant sunset I have ever seen at our home in New Jersey. The last memory I have of seeing a glimpse of my mom's true self was 2 weeks before she had passed. We were in rehab watching Bob Ross, one of her favorites, painting a beautiful sky, and she had been so happy to have that simple comfort. I think she was up there with Bob, painting the sky to show me that she was okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That is like...
I'm feeling emotional, even though we chose heartwarming. But
it is so funny how like the beauty of emotions that come with this is almost like more painful to feel than terror. Like I'd rather be scared.
That whole week, I felt her everywhere. We spent the next day at her favorite beach, Ocean Grove. We brought a white rose from her room at hospice and let it into the ocean. And on her birthday, 2 days later, we went to an antique shop, multiple antique shops, and in the front of one of the stores was a painting of a cow, which was her favorite animal ever.
Stop.
With a white rose in its mouth. That morning, my husband and I were talking about our intimate wedding last fall and how happy we were that she was healthy and able to be there. And I suddenly had the feeling that we should consider having our own small wedding venue to run one day and to give others those memories. John asked out loud, "What do you think, Bert? Should we do it?" And right at that moment, a woman walked by with her daughter who screamed, "Yes!" We didn't hear a single word from anyone else the whole time that we were there. My mom donated her body to science, and the day that we received her remaining ashes, I couldn't sleep knowing that they were in the house. I finally got up from the couch to go to the bed and to shut off all the lights, and I walked by the spare bedroom that was briefly her room before she ended up in rehab for her final months, and the TV turned on. I stood in shock for a minute and then quickly turned it off and ran into the bed in the pitch black of my apartment, and I was a little spooked. A few minutes later, I turned over in the bed towards the door and I noticed the light in the kitchen was now on. I know it was off because I was so scared to run in the dark all the way to my bedroom, and I know it was her getting comfortable back in the home with us.
That is so special.
I know. So many signs.
So many.
Towards the end, she was waking up at random hours of the night thinking that it was morning, so I think this was her trying to get her 11 p.m. coffee going. I love getting these signs from her since I'm not very religious. It has been hard to accept that she is gone.
Yeah.
Not knowing where she is now, but there's so much more. But I will get on to my Christmas story. It's a quick one. So about 10 years ago, one day in December, I stopped at a Quick Check to grab a coffee on my way to work. And when I tried to pay with my card, it wouldn't swipe, and I had no other card or cash on me. The cashier started getting annoyed with me since a line was starting to build behind her, And right as I was about to say, forget it, a man spoke up behind me that I did not recall noticing in line before. He looked like an old trucker with white hair, a big white beard, and a red puffy coat. And he said, I got it.
Santa.
He asked for a pack of Marlboro Reds, paid for my coffee, and said, Merry Christmas, before going on his way. I'm honored Santa stopped to help little old me during his busy season. That's all for now. I'll write in again soon about your podcast ghost only wanting me to hear about your nipples and a potential angel encounter in a doctor's office that I worked in. See you on the other side, Emily. And then we have photos of the sky and the rainbow.
And the cow. Please tell me you bought this cow
And the
painting.
cow and the rose.
Oh, this is so special.
So special.
I'm really sorry for your loss because my heart aches for you. I can't even imagine that.
I know.
And like the dichotomy of feelings and emotions that come with it, of like being grateful that she's no longer in pain, but it also not feeling real at all. But it's so clear.
Just like it's taken so much of your time in the past life too. It's like, or year of your life. It's kind of like confusion about like your own time 100%. And what you're doing.
But you were with her like for so much of that time. And I know that she is so like, it's so clear she's still with you.
Oh my gosh. Like,
and following
message after message after message. And I'm very intrigued about the idea of a little wedding venue. And I'm so curious if you and your husband, John, have started that.
Right.
Because mom said yes. She yelled it.
She yelled it. So you got
Great idea.
All right. I have a story from our listener, Sam, and it is called My Landline Being Tapped by a Ghost, Tarot and Ghost Pranks. Hello, beautiful souls. Here's another encounter from your friendly psychic medium. This experience is based on an old farm home that was built in the 1920s with 20 acres of land, the place that I call home. This house was very active with spirits, and of course, I have been sensitive to spirits since birth, so growing up in a haunted house allowed me to understand my power, but also frightened me at a young age. After a spooky dream or seeing things move around me without anyone being there, my parents chalked it up to, you ate something funny that didn't settle with your stomach and made you see shit that doesn't add up.
Okay.
Yeah, what? You eat like shrooms from tripping balls? Gosh, that was so frustrating. My dad had his own reasons to shut out spirits, as he told me a story years ago that left me feeling very uneasy. Many moons ago, before his mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer back in 1995, he was open to a tarot reading, which led him to shut out readings forever. The person who was reading his card told him that his mother would die very soon due to illness. This was before she was even diagnosed with cancer. She wasn't even aware she was sick. Keep in mind, this tarot reader had amazing skills and could pick up on my nanny's illness. However, in my practice, you should never say someone will fall ill and die. We are not in the space to diagnose illness, and if I see someone having heart issues, I kindly ask, when is the last time they visited their doctor due to stress that they're undergoing? That's one small example. But
I know, I was just going to say, if you see something, I would want to know, because I'd be like, you're seeing that? Let me go get all the tests or tell someone to go get checked out, because it could potentially help. And then if nothing happens, then I'm just going to be like, oh, well, that
was just not correct.
It just wasn't correct.
But how do you, I think Sam makes a good point. Like, how do you do it ethically without fear mongering and like also without interrupting and like getting in the way of fate? I don't know. I understand that. That's a very complicated thing.
I know. Because it also depends on the type of person who's receiving that message. Yeah.
But needless to say, my dad has a lot of feelings towards that particular experience with a tarot reader. Unfortunately, my nanny did pass away in 1996 from cervical cancer, and the loss of my nanny at the age of 5 left me feeling very sad. However, I did gain a spirit guide and angel who has been by my side every step of the way. So back to this spooky haunted house I grew up in. I was a jokester as a kid. A great example, which I don't remember doing, but my mom received her income tax of $1,000, and for whatever reason, she took the money out in cash. I took her money, and I hid the money in different spots around the house. Sorry, Mom. LOL. I also played a prank on my mom that backfired and left me feeling super creeped out because while my mom was showering, I snuck into the bathroom without her noticing. I jumped on the counter. I was about 7 years old, and I wrote on the foggy mirror, "I see you," with a sad face. I snuck out of the bathroom as fast as I could. And my mom didn't even mention seeing the creepy message for days until one evening while we were having supper. My mom asked, "Did you write that message on the mirror?" And I said, "Nope." And she believed me. I didn't have the best poker face either. But my mom took Windex and cleaned the mirror at least a few times in a month, so the message was completely gone. Months later, I was showering. And as I stepped out of the shower, the mirrors were foggy. And guess what it said? Written in the mirror were the words, "I see you," with a happy face. I was faced with, do I tell my mom I wrote the message and get in trouble, or do I keep this to myself? I was scared, so I told my mom. She swore she didn't write it on the mirror. It's also a happy face this time rather than a sad face.
I don't know. I'm curious if she's playing this game too.
But why would she do that to her 7-year-old child?
Well, there's a happy face.
I know, but if your 7-year-old is scared,
yeah,
it's one thing for a 7-year-old to lie to you as a mom, be like, I didn't do it.
Okay.
There was a lot of activity in that house, good and bad. And this is the time that I learned my lesson. Stop playing creepy pranks on my family in the house. Another creepy experience I had was my landline was tapped by a ghost. Being a 90s kid, I would call my friends using the landline, and most of the time it was in the evening. We didn't have a cordless phone until I was 17 years old, so I was probably around 14 years old when I realized my phone was being tapped by a ghost. At this time, my best friend and I would spend hours talking on the phone until something caught my attention. I heard a creepy growl and a man say, "Samantha." I said to my friend in a frightened voice, "Katie, did you just say my name?" She said, "No." She was very confused, and I tried to block it out of my memory, so I just ignored it.
Oh, so Samantha didn't hear, or
Katie didn't hear it. However, this happened a lot. And this happened while I was alone in the kitchen. No one else was home, and it was nighttime.
Oh.
Eventually it stopped, but it's something I will never forget. Oh, the ghost is just listening to your phone calls.
I do not like that.
Okay, last story, but I have many more from my haunted home, so I'll write more soon. And also Sam has sent us 15 emails, so there are a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Sam is haunted.
I have a beautiful great aunt named Mabel. I love that name. Someone who I never met, unfortunately. Mabel was born in the 40s and went on a date one night with her boyfriend at the time. Let's call her boyfriend Bob. Bob picked Mabel up one night to go out for a bite to eat, and they were driving during a winter storm, and there was a semi-truck with stacked logs in front of them. Something happened, and content warning for very gruesome death. Something happened, and one of the logs went through the windshield of the car and decapitated my Aunt Mabel. Yeah. Bob made it out alive. My dad also told me that Mabel's dad, who was my great-grandfather, read tea leaves, could see death following Mabel from reading her tea leaves, but he had no idea or knowledge of when it would happen.
That is so terrifying.
Dad loved Mabel so much, and he was only 13 when she passed away. What does this have to do with the house I grew up in, you may ask? Well, one day I asked Dad about Mabel because we had an old black and white photo of her sitting in our cabinet that made me think to ask, what was she like? So my dad started sharing stories with me about Mabel, and it made me wish that I could have met her. Later that afternoon, I decided to go outside, and you'll never guess what I saw on our driveway. That exact photo of Aunt Mabel that was in our cabinet was now in the middle of the driveway. What the fuck?
What?
It wasn't creepy, but more concerning that this was the only photo we had of her, and it was almost taken by the wind. I immediately told my dad, and he was shocked, had no words. He couldn't believe what he saw. To this day, I have no idea why this happened, or maybe it was just her communicating with us.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was shy with spirits and my ability to speak with them, so I placed the picture back in the house and said a prayer to Mabel. Thanks again for listening. See you on the other side, Sam. I think Mabel was trying to prove that it was her, because literally that same day, Sam had asked her dad about
I just keep thinking about how Mabel went. It's so,
I know, so sad.
So sad, so terrifying. But yeah, no, that does feel like that's a far distance for a photo.
That was presumably in a frame in the cabinet.
Right. Had been tucked in for a very long time. And now it's in the driveway, in the middle of the driveway. That makes no sense.
And hadn't been blown away until that moment that Sam was able to see the photo.
Mm-hmm.
It was Mabel. Well, now I feel like we have to read all of Sam's emails and try to gather information to understand who was saying Samantha on the phone. But I would haunt a landline. And I would also listen in on conversations all the time.
Yeah.
I want the tea.
Samantha, do you have any siblings?
That's a good question. But Sam said they were home alone.
That's true.
The first time it happened.
Because I was like, well, Sam likes pranks. So the prankster energy could be running in this family. Pretty hardcore. Jeez, I don't know. I'm trying to remember if it was easy to, back in the day for landlines to get hacked. Because remember, baby monitors, if you were on a certain frequency, sometimes your baby monitor would pick up other people's baby monitors. And sometimes even like cop cars and stuff like that.
Well, I do remember that if you have multiple landlines, if you have multiple phones, you could pick up another phone and listen in and say stuff, because I remember my parents would do that all the time. or I would do that to my parents. But then also I've heard stories of like, I don't know what years exactly, but yeah, where people would pick up their phone and they'd hear their neighbors on their phones having conversations because like your landlines are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Okay. This is called Invisible String Theory. You decide. And this is from Lo. Hey, mystical mamas of the morbidly macabre. Obsessed.
Mystical mamas.
It's me, Lo. Pretty rad of you to read my stories before, but I just finished the episode on invisible string theory, and now all of these so-called random occurrences in my life have made so much more sense.
Well, it kind of goes back to me saying like, how crazy is it that we are doing this for our jobs? And it's like, I feel like everything in our life is like building this like invisible string is like
That's
connecting
true.
us. Like we grew up in haunted homes.
We met through
happened to say
declaration of paranormal experiences.
Brought us together.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were friends for years prior to us doing this podcast.
And even like when starting to listen to podcasts, you and I were like the first two people in a very large group to listen to podcasts.
You introduced me to like spending time in Boston and Massachusetts, and now I live here.
Yeah, it was you wanted to do a writer's retreat, and I was like, just stay in Boston, but like go to this like little place in Marblehead so you can get away and walk around. And that's how you got exposed to Marblehead.
Yeah. You are my invisible string.
Just
my whole life is connected to Corinne.
And just fishing, and I caught ya.
You caught me.
Okay. So to tell you this story, we have to go back in time to when I graduated college after serving in the Navy. Joining the Navy was the first time I'd ever left home. I went from rural, everyone hates that word, but rural Pennsylvania to the Great Lakes, Illinois. From there, they sent me to Mississippi. And sorry to anyone who lives there, but I call it the armpit of America. It was always so humid and so muggy, and the bugs were the size of small house pets.
Oh my
so
God.
I hated it.
That does sound horrifying.
Until I met Daniel, whose name I've changed.
Okay.
Daniel was also in the Navy, and we quickly found love and got engaged.
Aww.
He ended up getting deployed and had an accident, and they sent him home for physical therapy. And when his temporary duty was up, they changed his orders to Virginia. So we spent the first entire year of our marriage apart because of that. When my orders were up, I could either get out or re-up for 4 to 6 more years. So I got out of the Navy so that he could continue on and have the military career. Dual military is very hard.
Yeah, can't even imagine.
Even if you are married, there's no guarantee that you'll be stationed together. And I didn't want myself or my husband to be geo-bachelors, as they were called. But when I graduated college, he wanted a divorce, and I was devastated.
Sorry.
He told me he didn't care, and I would never have anything without him and would never make a name for myself.
Okay, well, thank God he asked for a divorce.
Jeez.
Clearly, you deserve better.
My God. What was that accident?
So
Did he get rocked in the head? Because this guy sounds like a dick.
Jesus.
Me
Good
being my
riddance.
stubborn ass, I decided to try to make it on my own. So I rented a bedroom, and I got a crappy job, and I failed miserably, getting into tons of credit card debt, all due to my pride. So I had to have my parents rescue me. They drove down and moved me out of that room, and we drove home. And yeah, typical millennial having to live with their parents for a bit. That's not you. That's the worlds that we were given and the immense debt.
I feel like in the US, that seems like such a frowned upon thing. But in Europe and other countries, living with your parents is like such a normalized and like expected thing until you have your own family.
Right. And it's also like, it's not very easy to not live with your parents if you wanted to be on your own.
Right.
Like the world that has been given to us is not the most, it's not like it used to be.
No.
It's not like it used to be. Okay. So when I was back in Pennsylvania, this is important, remember that, I tried to find myself as a divorcee living at home with zero direction in my life. I took on several jobs. I was trying to find a career. So I hopped around from job to job, chasing a better paycheck so I could hopefully one day move out of mom and dad's. And then the offer of a lifetime came in. I got a job offer from the Smithsonian Office of Protective Services. I was obsessed with Night at the Museum at the time, so I was stoked. Oh my gosh. Also, this is just reminding me, remember when I had my quarter life crisis and I was trying to apply to be a blue man, but they don't accept women?
I don't remember you doing that.
Oh.
You did that?
Yes.
Did you actually apply or did you consider?
No, I filled out the whole application and then at the end realized that I wouldn't get it because I was not a man.
What? That's amazing.
I love a bald cap.
If you know one thing about us.
and drumming and catching things in my mouth. I thought I could do it.
You could also do like hibachi.
That's true. Or I could just go to hibachi on Saturday nights. Blue Man, hibachi. I don't know. I swear I told you that.
I don't remember.
So my parents moved me down to Washington, D.C., where I rented a bedroom for $800. Long story short, the job was pretty interesting, but I couldn't handle the financial stress of living in a city and the cost of living exceeding my paycheck. So again, my parents moved me back home to Pennsylvania. Devastated once again to be living with my parents, I decided to try and see if I would qualify for a home loan. And to my shock and awe, the loan officer gave me $125K to play with.
To play with. Monopoly.
Monopoly. I searched for a place of my own for months, put in several offers, and kept getting rejected. Until I was looking online, and I must have seen this posting minutes after it went online. This was the spring of 2019, so the housing market wasn't that crazy, but people were snatching up homes fast. So I decided to just go in, and I took a tour that day, and I made the offer, and I was accepted. It was this cute, newly renovated, one-bedroom farmhouse on an acre of land out in the country.
Dreamy.
It didn't look like much, but it was mine. And I loved the area too. My street connected to the next town over. I found all of these loops that I could run and walk the dogs on. And one of the best trails was way up in the mountain where all of these private hunting cabins were. I had a favorite and I took a picture of it. But mind you, these cabins were miles and miles away from my house, so you would have to drive up to them. On one of my runs, this house I would go by had a dog outside that would always have this raspy bark. And I would say, "Hey, puppy," and keep going. But one time he tried to follow me, and the dog dad came out and said not to worry because he's super friendly. Every time I ran by after that, if the man was outside, he would wave and the dog would try to follow me. And this became our routine. One night after visiting my parents in the next town over, yeah, I lived really close to home. I can't get away. I was, you know what? That's not even not being able to get away because I have been seeing it so much with like my own friends and even my own draw to Vermont. I feel like everyone leaves and explores. And then there's just like this immense desire to like go back to where
it's what you know. And like you spent time exploring other places and you like what you like.
And if you liked your childhood too, like once you start having kids, you're like, well, I want that for them.
Exactly.
Okay. So one night after visiting my parents in the next town over, I was behind a motorcyclist that was weaving around and I assumed they were having fun, but I honked to make sure that he wasn't drunk. He went from the inside line to the outside line, back and forth until he pulled into the driveway, thank God. But speaking of God, I was having a bit of a crisis of faith, and my sister invited me to go to church with her and her husband. I decided to go one more time, and I saw a very attractive grizzly bear of a man there. I know. That's not what the church is for, but can you blame a girl? He was tall, he was tatted and bearded, and just yum. My sister told me that he comes to church a lot and I should go talk to him, but I was way too chicken at the time. After seeing him there a few more times, I finally grew some huevos and I approached him as he was throwing something away, so I walked over to the trash can. I asked him if he was a veteran because he had one of those metal bracelets that they make for fallen comrades, and he said yes. I reached out to shake his hand over the trash can, and when I went to walk away, he asked me if I was a veteran, and I said yes, and he shook my hand and said thank you. Then we both went back to our seats until the service was over, and he came to talk to me and my sister and my brother-in-law.
You know, that entire church service, he was just thinking about her and how he wanted to talk to her again.
What a meet cute.
Yeah.
I'm so curious how like the motorcyclist and the guy with the dog, how like if any of this is going to tie together.
Yeah.
We talked for a bit and he said that he had to go and we exchanged info. I'm not one for formality, so as soon as I got home, I sent him a text and he said he was heading to work shortly, but it's okay because he lived close to the church, and I said, me too. So I told him the street I lived on and he said, me too. Okay, odd. We continued talking and decided to go on a date later that week. When we got to my house, he pulled up on a motorcycle, the same motorcycle that was weaving all over the road. That person I was worried about going into oncoming traffic was him. Again, odd. So on the date, we were talking about our birthdays because, you know, astrology. I got to know for compatibility reasons. He said his birthday was in November. I said mine was in March. And he said, what day? I said the 24th. And he laughed and said mine too. So we both have a birthday on the 24th.
Okay.
After we made it official on September 24th, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Cute, right? And I didn't know men still did that. But he wanted to take me on a ride up to see his cabin.
Stop.
It was hunting season and he wouldn't shut up about it. So I figured that this was important to him. So we pulled onto the road and I felt my heart flutter because he turned into the driveway of the cabin that I love and took a picture of months before this. My mouth was agape. He looked at me and asked what I was thinking about. I told him, I love this cabin. I showed him on my phone that I took a picture of it almost a year ago to that day. He laughed and said, yeah, it's a nice cabin. A week or so later, he invited me into his house, and I didn't realize this until recently, but his house number is the same last 4 numbers of my mom's phone number.
That is also wild. What?
He was showing me around. He told me that he moved back home and was staying with his parents. Yeah, same. And his grandfather had passed away in that house. Eek, I still get a little skeeved out by that. So he bought it in 2019, the same year that I bought my house. What the fuck? So November rolls around, we're planning Thanksgiving, and we figure it's as good a time as any to meet the parents. So his mom told him that she was going to do Thanksgiving a day early because my guy had to work on Thanksgiving and she wanted him to spend time with family that day. When we get to the house, guess which one it is?
No. With the dog?
Yep, that's the one. The house with the man who waves when I run and the dog that has a raspy bark. My mind. I have immense chills.
The dog, like, even the dog knew. Like, the dog tried to follow you because the dog
the dog is
knew.
the matchmaker. The dog is the matchmaker. Oh my gosh. My mind is beyond blown at this point. I always felt this weird pull to come back home. I mean, I love it here. It's beautiful. My whole family's here. But I was a vagabond soul. And for a long time, I was just trying to make it on my own. But then I just always found myself back in Pennsylvania. When he got out of the Air Force, he was in Georgia and moved back home to be with family too because he felt this pull to come back home. So what do you guys think? Is this the invisible string theory? Are these just weird coincidences? Am I absolutely bonkers? As my fiance would say, haha, yep, we're getting married. September 24th, which is a Tuesday.
And
but we don't care.
The day that they started dating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their anniversary. It's my second marriage. Like, 2 people wanted to marry me. Fascinating. And he's pretty laid back, so it's going to be chill. Stay spooky, low.
Low. This is just such a beautiful story for so many reasons, but also just like, it's such a good message to people who might be out there struggling to find their purpose or like find what they're meant to be doing and are starting over. And like, it's okay. It's okay to go through that journey. I mean, like, I think about, I tried to start a blog about running. Like, that didn't do anything, but it was just like, there's just so many lives we live in our life. And just because you quote unquote fail doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that like, there's something better and more attuned to who you are that's waiting for you to find it. And you just have to keep
restart as many times over as you want.
100%.
Like you mentioned Monopoly, and I win Monopoly all the time, but it's because I let myself go into immense crippling debt. I like triple mortgage everything.
You file for bankruptcy.
And then I come out.
Start over.
I clean sweep because I have
So everyone rack up
properties.
that credit card debt.
Yeah, just do it.
Foreclose on your homes. No, I'm kidding.
Actually, this reminds me, my parents are selling their house, as you know, and my mom just told me some stuff about their realtor, who seems like the coolest person in the world. She is their realtor now, but she used to be a game warden in remote Alaska and would be dropped from a helicopter in the middle of literally nowhere, like the remote Alaskan wildlife, to hunt down and track hunters to make sure they had permits and licenses to be hunting the Alaskan wildlife.
That is wild.
And she's a boxer. Like, I was like, where did you meet this badass realtor? Like, what? And now she's in Vermont just selling houses. So you can be anything you want to be.
That is so cool.
Right? I was like, that's sick.
I love hearing stories about that and just the many lives we live in this one life. That is such a beautiful experience. Actually, I was on TikTok and it reminds me of Lo's story where a girl and her friend walked into a coffee shop and they walked past this guy who was a motorcyclist. He was holding a motorcycle helmet, and this girl and the guy locked eyes, and her friend made a comment. She was like, that's the type of guy you're going to marry one day. 6 years later, they're at a party and she meets this guy who they start talking, and he's like, it's so weird. 6 years ago, I walked past a woman who kind of looks like you, and I've never forgotten her. They are the two people who locked eyes that her friend made a comment, you're going to marry a guy like that one day. Now they're married.
I have full body chills. It's behind my ears.
It's just
Sometimes the
wild.
world just knows. The universe knows. And Lo, to answer your question, because you said, is this an invisible string theory or are you just bonkers? I
Both.
have never read a story that feels more invisible string theory.
It's wild. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I have one story for us to end on, and it's from Tiffany. And this is a story about our haunted podcast.
Mm.
I have a story for you. It literally happened yesterday afternoon, back in 2023. So I listen to your podcast while I'm driving. And yesterday afternoon, I was driving alone, listening on my way to my daughter's gymnastics practice. My dad picks her up on Wednesdays to spend extra time with her. I have the best dad in the world, side note. And I was about 10 minutes into the episode when it stopped playing the podcast and started playing a song instead that I had never heard of. So I thought, that's weird. And I turned my phone back on and I switched it back to the podcast. But about a minute later, it happens again. Now I started to get weirded out. I put your podcast on and I hit play. I shit you not, it paused on its own and I instantly thought, oh my God, I'm having an experience while listening to the podcast, while also being a bit scared. I hit play again and it switched to a different song, which I don't remember the whole name, but it had the word ghost in the title. Now I'm full on panicking. I switched it back and then it paused and started on its own twice. At this point, I'm about to pull over. So I turn off the podcast. I call my dad because I tell him all my spooky weirdness and there's a lot. So, I tell him a lot. And my dad says, hi, and calls out to my daughter, Penny, your mom's on the phone. And I instantly hear her hysterically laughing. And that is when I realized my daughter was logged into my Spotify profile and was controlling what was playing.
No.
And she starts yelling, did I get you? And she's laughing hysterically. I got so scared.
Dang it.
But Penny is laughing. I scared my mom, like chanting on the other side of the phone. She sure as heck got me. It was pretty funny. We laughed for the next few minutes. Thanks for reading. See you on the other side, Tiffany.
Oh my gosh.
That is hilarious.
That is really funny.
Your kid is hilarious. I'm imagining like Penny's like 6 years old. And I don't know if that's true, but I just love that Penny's like, Mom.
But just having the thought to be like, let me choose a song with ghost in the title too, to like really make it freaky.
So funny.
I love it.
I love it.
It's so good. This is reminding me of the Bloody Joey story.
I tried to look up stories similar to that, but like I was like, what do you search?
Yeah.
Bloody Joey is a story we read early days of the podcast and I think we read it again in one of the like encounters where we read our favorites.
We read, because we have a couple encounters that we did last year or the year before, where we brought back some of the stories that we reference frequently because now we're almost 8 years into the podcast and it's hard for us to be like, we read it at some point and people to know what we're talking about. So we brought back some of those like frequently referenced emails to put together. Yeah. So people have like a little cheat sheet
to reference. But basically, Joey had some Bloody Mary experiences throughout their entire town. And you have to listen to the story to find out what happened. This was a delightful one.
Yeah, this was.
I felt
partway through, I forgot that we had picked a theme and I was like, look at us choosing a heartwarming experience.
There is some method to the madness here.
Yeah.
Organized chaos.
However, just because we covered heartwarming does not mean that you cannot send your story in because we revisit the same topics over and over and over again.
Also, think about like how much, yes, there are similarities in these stories, but like we might do an invisible string episode in the near future, which could be heartwarming. But
or like messages from loved ones.
Exactly.
Like there's so many different things. So it doesn't matter what your story is. If you have an experience, please send it in to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com. There's other ways to support us. You can rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen. Tell other people. That's a big one.
Oh, yes. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And also, if you want episodes 1 week early and ad-free, for just $5 a month, you can join us on Patreon and get all of that plus more.
And if you have suggestions for Halloween costumes, Halloween decor, just different things for us to experiment with in October, let us know.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you to our editor, Jamie, who makes us sound and look beautiful, wonderful.
We love you, and we will see you on the other side.